Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon, dear students. So here is the part 2 of the chapter Mrs. Addis. In the previous lecture, we have discussed the icebreakers, the introduction of the chapter, and then we have also done the half part or the half chapter, the explanation part we have done. Now we will continue that in this lecture. So as we were done with the Mrs. Addis gave some money to Peter Crouch so that he can escape from the city or from the country and can go to London. So that's what how much we have discussed in the previous lecture. Now here we are starting with the other part. For a moment he did not speak. Then he said, "I don't know how to thank you, ma'am." "Oh, you need not to thank me. I am doing it for Tom." So basically, as he was very much grateful towards her because first she gave shelter to him to hide himself, and then later now she is also giving the money. So what he said, he was not having anything to speak for a while, and then what he said, "I don't know, ma'am, how to thank you." And what she replied, it's better not to thank me because I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for Tom's sake. I hope you won't get into trouble because of this. There isn't much fear. There is not much fear. No one's ever likely to know you have been in this cottage. That's why I would sooner you went before Tom came back. For maybe he would bring a friend with him and that would make trouble. So basically, what she said, and after when she said that, so he replied, "I hope you won't get into trouble because anyhow she was hiding a criminal." So that's what he thought. "I hope you will not get into trouble because of me." So what she replied, "No, there is not much fear because no one will ever guess that you were here at my place. No one can think of that. So but it's better you leave as soon as possible because if the Tom comes back, he might come with his friends. So that will indirectly invite trouble for you." She opened the door for him, but on the threshold they both stood still, for again footsteps could be heard approaching, this time from the far south. Now she opened the door for him, and as he was trying to guide her to leave the house and showing him the way to go out, but as they were around the threshold, they stood still. And why they stood still? Because they heard the footsteps. That could be, they could heard that someone is coming, some people are coming, and that sound was coming far from the south. "Maybe it's Tom," said Mrs. Addis. And what Mrs. Addis thought, that it may be Tom. "There is more than one man there, and I can hear voices." And what they were thinking, that there is not one man, there are more than one, and I can hear the voices means there are more than one person. You would better go back," she said shortly. Wait till they have passed anyway." And what she suggested him to go back means inside the place that she had shown him previously. And what she said, wait until they passed anyway. With an unwilling shrug, he went back into the little dusty shed which he had come to hate, and she locked the door upon him. And unwillingly, he had to go inside again, and where the place which he started hating now, and the Mrs. Addis locked him inside the place. The footsteps drew nearer. They came slowly and heavily this time. For a moment he thought they would pass also, but their momentary dulling was only the crossing of the strip of grass outside the door. The next minute there was a knock. It was not Tom. Then, so the footsteps came nearer. Means they started feeling that they are coming towards their cottage only, and the slowly the heavy sound of footsteps started dulling, and so that they realized that yes, they are coming over here only. And then another minute there was a knock on the door, and it was not Tom. Then who were they? Trembling with anxiety and curiosity, Peter Crouch put his eye to one of the numerous cracks in the door and looked through into the kitchen. He saw Mrs. Addis go to the cottage door, but before she could open it, a man came in quickly and shut it behind him. So basically, Peter Crouch was trembling with the anxiety, and he was in curiosity that who are they, and who will be there. And as we previously discussed that there was a crack in the door of that shed. So through that crack he could see everything that what's happening in the kitchen, or like near to the door and everything. So he saw some of the keepers came there, and he was very much he in a curiosity that what's happening and everything. So as Mrs. Addis went near to the door of cottage, before he could open it, someone came and opened the door, and then just immediately shut the door. Crouch recognized Whittler, one of the keepers of Scotney Castle. So basically, Scotney Castle is basically a fort, or like name of a castle it is. So where all the incident took place and everything. So basically, he recognized that person, that he was Whittler. Whittler is basically one of the keeper of the Scotney Castle. Okay, and he felt his hands and feet grow leaden cold. They knew where he was then. They had followed him. They had guessed that he had taken refuge with Mrs. Addis. Now, what he's thinking, Peter Crouch, that they must be knowing that I'm here. They must have been following me, so they came to know that I'm here. That's why they came here, and they know that I have taken a refuge over here in Mrs. Addis' cottage. It was all up. He was not really hidden. There was no place for him to hide. Directly they opened the door, the inner door, they would see him. Why couldn't he think of things better? Why wasn't he cleverer at looking after himself like other men? His legs suddenly refused to support him, and he sat down on the pile of sacks. So it was feeling as if now, as if everything is about to get revealed, and then the thoughts are coming, why he wouldn't why he had not thought of a better idea, or like why he hadn't thought of a place better than this where he could hide properly. Now if they have come here, if they comes inside and open the door, everything will be revealed, and I'll be revealed in front of them. So now there is nothing hidden, and if they comes and opens the door, I'll be there in front of them. So now there is nothing left, and everything is revealed now. The man in the kitchen seemed to have some difficulty in saying what he wanted to Mrs. Addis. He stood before her silently twisting his cap. So basically, the man who came inside the kitchen to talk to Mrs. Addis, it was feeling as if he is having some difficulty to tell the truth, or to tell the thing that he came to talk about. He was unable to speak about that, and he was twisting his cap. Well, what is it? She asked. I want to speak to you, ma'am. So she asked that, well, what is it? Like, means what, like, are you trying to talk to me, or like what happened? She asked. So what he said, I want to speak to you, ma'am. Peter Crouch listened, straining his ears, for his thudding heart nearly drowned the voices in the next room. Oh no, he was sure she would not give him away. If only for Tom's sake. She was a good sort, Mrs. Addis. So basically, Peter Crouch was listening all to the all conversation and everything, and trying to focus on their voices, basically in the other room, what's happening. And what he thought, oh no, like now I will not get a way to escape. Only if she thinks about Tom's sake, then only she will leave me. And she's a good sort of woman, Mrs. Addis. Well, she said sharply, as the men remained tongue-tied, I have brought you bad news, ma'am. Now she asked, when she asked sharply. So he said, and for a while it felt as if he was speechless, and then he talked about it, that I have brought up bad news, ma'am. So her expressions changed. What? It isn't Tom, is it? So when he said that I have brought a bad news for you, so her expressions changed, and she was a bit scared at the same time. So she asked, what? Isn't it about Tom? And is it? He is outside, said the keeper. So what he said, he is outside. That's what the keeper said. What do you mean? Said Mrs. Addis, and she moved the door. And she was confused. He is outside, what do you mean by it? She was completely confused, and then she moved outside the door. Don't, ma'am. No, till I have told you. So he stopped her from going outside, and what he said, don't go out before I tell you everything. Told me what? Oh, be quickly, man, for mercy's sake. And she tried to push past him to the door. And she said, told me what? What are you trying to tell me? And for a mercy's sake, please tell me quickly what it is about. And so he pushed him and went near to the door. There has been a sorry, been a row, she said, down by Cinderwood. There was a chap there snaring rabbits, and Tom was walking with the Burmans and me, an old crotch. We heard a noise in there. It was too dark to see who it was, and directly he saw us, he made off, but we would scared him and let fly with his gun. The keeper had forgotten his guard before. Now later, what happened after that, when he went inside, when all the things were happening, he was trying to stop her from going outside. There is a bin row, he said, down by Cinderwood. There was a chap there snaring rabbits, and Tom was walking with the Bowmans and me, old Crosh. We heard a noise, and there it was too dark to see who it was, and directly he saw us, he made off, but we had scared him, and he let fly with his gun. So basically, now he is giving her the whole, incident, the way it took place. So he's telling that there was a row, and there was Cinderwood, and there was a the sound of chap, and the rabbits were snaring. So the Tom was walking with the Bowmans, and then later what he's telling her, there was a crash and everything. Then all of a sudden we heard a noise, and it was too dark, so we couldn't see that who exactly it was, or that person was. And then we tried to scare him, because as if we thought he was trying to steal something, or trying to steal the rabbits or anything. So all of a sudden sorry, and he let fly with his gun. Tom, said Mrs. Addis, and basically that person had shot in the air, and like he flew. Tom, said Mrs. Addis, and she is talking about Tom. Then what about Tom? The keeper had forgotten his guard, and before he could prevent her, she had flung open the door. So the keepers who were waiting outside, so he didn't say anything to them, and before he could say anything to the keepers and to the guards, she prevented them, and she just flung to and opened the door and went outside. The men outside had evidently been waiting for the signal, and they came in carrying something which they put down in the middle of the kitchen floor. So now, as she opened the door, she saw some people were standing out, and they were waiting basically for the keeper's signal. So before he could signal them, she herself went out, and then they came inside carrying something in their hands, and they came inside and in the middle of the kitchen floor. Is he dead? Asked Mrs. Addis without tears. And basically what they were having, what they were carrying, basically that's what she's talking about. So they were carrying to whom? To Tom. Okay, all those keepers were carrying Tom, and what she asked when she saw that is he dead? And there was no tear in her eyes. The men nodded. They could not find a dry voice like hers. And what he because they couldn't understand what to speak and how to speak, he just nodded his head, means yes, the Tom is dead. So as we know, who is Tom? Mrs. Addis' son. In the shed, Peter Crouch had ceased to sweat and tremble. Strength had come with despair, for he knew he must despair now. Besides, he no longer wanted to escape from this thing that he had done. Oh, Tom, and I was thinking it was one of the keepers. Oh, Tom. Now, basically what we came to know, that it was Tom to whom Peter Crouch had shot, and he had been killed. So basically he didn't know about it, Peter Crouch. Unwillingly and unknowingly, Peter Crouch killed his own friend, that is Tom. And so when he came to know by the conversation that was going on in the kitchen between that keeper, and that is Vidler, and the Mrs. Addis. As he heard all those conversation, and he came to know that it was no one but Tom, so he was ceased to sweat, and he was not trembling anymore, and he was in a despair, and it was like, he no longer want to escape now, and now he is ready to get punished, and he is not willing to move, not willing to leave or escape. And he's thinking, oh Tom, it was you. I thought it was some of the keeper, and it was you that got it from me. I don't want to live. And then what he's thinking, and it was you who got a gunshot from me, that specially from me, and now I don't want to live. And yet life was sweet, for there was a woman at Ticehurst, a woman as faithful to him as Tom, who would go with him to the world's end even now. But he must not think of her. He had no right. He must pay with his life for what he has done. Now what she's saying, now the life is still sweet. And what she's saying, that because there is a woman in his life still who is so faithful, the way she was faithful towards Tom, and she would go with Peter Crouch the way she went with Tom. But right now he should not expect all these, trust and the care or the protection from Mrs. Addis, because now it's her son only. He killed her son only, so now he should not expect all these things from her. And now he is ready to pay with his own life. Mrs. Addis was sitting in the old basket armchair by the fire. One of the men had helped her into it, and then all of a sudden she sat on the chair, an armchair of a basket. So she sat near to that, and one of the men who was there helped him in sitting over there. We will go round to Iron Ledge Cottage and ask Mrs. Gain to come down to you. So basically, in a difficult times like this, obviously we need someone to be there around, and especially someone who is close to us. So there is a lady called what Mrs. Gain they talked about. So she must be someone who is very close to Mrs. Addis, and that's why they talked about her, that we will go to Iron Ledge Cottage and we will send Mrs. Gain to come to you. This is a terrible thing to have come to you, and as for the man who did it, we have a middling good guess who he is, and he shall hang. Now what they said, the keepers and the Vidler, everyone who were there, so what they said, I know that this is a very terrible thing that have come to you, but we have a good guess that who exactly he was, the person who killed Tom. So don't worry, he will be hanged. We didn't see his face, but we have got his gun. He threw it into a bush when he bolted, and I swear that gun belongs to Peter Crouch, who has been up to no good since the day he was sacked for stealing corn. Now, what he's saying, we did not see his face, but we have a good guess when we saw the gun, his gun, when we saw, in a hurry, he threw it in the bushes and we got it. And I swear this gun belongs to Peter Crouch. And then what he says, that he has been of a no good from the day when he had been dismissed for stealing the corns. But he couldn't have known it was Tom when he did it, he and Tom always being better friends than he deserved. So what he's saying basically, because the much we know, he would have not aware of it that he killed Tom, because the much we know, they have been friends, and Tom have always been better friend towards him. So he doesn't deserve this, but and we think that he doesn't know that he killed his no one but his own friend. Peter Crouch was standing upright now, looking through the crack of the door. He saw Mrs. Addis struggle to her feet and stand by the table, looking down on the dead man's face. He saw her put her hand into her apron pocket, where she had thrust the key of the shed. Then Peter Crouch is seeing everything from inside the shed through that crack, and he could see the Mrs. Addis struggling to stand properly, and through the table. And he was looking outside, and he saw that she was looking down at the dead man's face, that is Tom. And he saw that that all of a sudden she put her hands into her apron's pocket, where basically she was hiding the keys. The Bowmans have gone after Crouch, said Vidler, nervously breaking the silence. So Vidler, what he said, that that the Bowmans have gone to search for Peter Crouch, and they had thought he had broken through the wood iron ledge way. There is no chance of his having been by here. You haven't seen him tonight, ma'am? So basically they are searching for him, and what they are, as he had broken through the wood iron ledge way. So what he's saying, that there is no chances of him to be here, or of having been by here. So then he asked that, have you seen him tonight? There was a pause. No, said Mrs. Addis. I haven't seen him, not since Tuesday. She took her hand out of her apron's pocket. So for a while there was a pause. There was a stillness. There was a silence, complete silence. And then she spoke, and what she said, no. She said, no, I haven't seen him, and not since Tuesday. So, and the hands that was there inside the pocket, she took it out. And then, well, we will be getting around and fetch Mrs. Gain. Reckon you would be glad to have her. So then, what he said, okay, we'll go and we'll send Mrs. Gain, so that you will be feeling a bit better with her. Mrs. Addis nodded, and she nodded her head and didn't say anything. Will you carry him in there first? And she pointed to the bedroom door. So basically, what she asked them to do, she asked them to, take his dead body towards the bedroom, and that's what she asked them to do. The men picked up the stretcher and carried it into the next room, then silently each wrung the mother by the hand and went away. So basically, they did it. They took the stretcher and picked the stretcher up and carried it towards the bedroom, and silently all of them just pressed her hands, the way they are trying to console her or something, and then they went away. She waited until they had shut the door, then she came towards the shed. Crouch once more fell a shivering. He couldn't bear it. No, he would rather be hanged than face Mrs. Addis. He heard the key turn in the lock, and nearly screamed. Then what happened? Mrs. Addis was waiting for them to go out and to shut the door. As soon as they went out, she came towards the shed. And Peter Crouch again, he started feeling he's shivering, as he can see everything through the crack. So he saw Mrs. Addis coming near to him, and he couldn't bear that. And what he was thinking, instead of facing Mrs. Addis, it's better to be hanged. And then he heard the sound of a key turning inside the lock, and as if someone is basically opening. So as the door opened and the lock opened, he screamed. He nearly screamed, but she did not come in. She merely unlocked the door, then crossed the kitchen with the heavy dragging footsteps and shut herself in the room where Tom was. So she opened the lock, but she did not go inside the shed. And she just opened the lock and the door and crossed the kitchen with the heavy and dragging footsteps. And later what she did, she went inside the bedroom and locked herself in over there with the Tom. Peter Crouch knew what he must do. The only thing she wanted him to do, the only thing he could possibly do. He opened the door and silently went out. So Peter Crouch, what he did, that he knew that what she wants me to do. She basically want me to leave. She want me to go, and that's what she did. She opened the door in front of me and she allowed me to go out, and that's what he did. He opened the door, he went out, the thing what he wanted, what she wanted, and he went out silently. So I hope you must have understood.